So Nokhud, I basically ran a very similar build. The only change that I made was I swapped Wintertide for Snowstorm. That's because this dungeon is basically a bunch of AoE packs in a row. Every single pull is an AoE pack, except for basically the very last pack of the dungeon and the bosses. Not entirely the same with halls. Obviously, you have the mobs at the very end. But this pack is basically all AoE packs.
All right, here we go.
So I'll go over my talent tree for this one. This one, I did decide to take Time Manipulation in instead of Dragon's Breath. That's because there aren't a whole lot of things that Dragon's Breath interrupts in this dungeon. But obviously, if you need it, like for the third area, it wouldn't be too bad because it interrupts an okay amount of things in the third area. But I took Time Manipulation just for pure damage for this key. That's kind of the difference between taking either Dragon's Breath or Time Manipulation. Is Time Manipulation will give you more damage in AoE scenarios because you'll get more Ice Novas, which means more shatters on both Cone of Cold and more just general shatters from Blizzard and Frozen Orb. Versus Dragon's Breath is a lot better utility. It actually interrupts. It's probably one of the better interrupts in the game. It keeps them still, and it just interrupts everybody there. But I did end up going Time Manipulation for this key just because there aren't a whole lot of things that DB needed to be used for.
I am running Snowstorm, Frostbite, Sub-Zero.
Again,
and I'm running Time Manipulation.
I ran Snowstorm over Wintertide for this one, and then I rode Frostbite and Sub-Zero. Typical AoE M+ build. The build that I was showing is really good for AoE ones.
No DB might be a little rough, but
I will rewind for a second again.
that's the plan.
The only things that you would change ever in keys, so in halls, the only change I made was I swapped Snowstorm with Wintertide. Basically everything else for M+, the only change you would ever make would be Frostbite for Slick Ice. This is Frostbite's more AoE, Slick Ice is more single target. And then Sub-Zero is AoE, and Splintering Cold is single target. So if you wanted to go more single target, you could run those other options, but this is a very AoE-centric dungeon, so I decided to go basically full AoE,
Might be a little rough.
which is why I also went to Time Manipulation.
Snowstorm with Sub-Zero Frostbite on this key will be a juicer.
In this pack, one thing that you either want to focus the large mob, obviously, in this case the Plane Stomper. I also like focusing the War Ohanas, I think they're called. The birds? Or are those birds? Yeah. If the bird gets to you, it literally just one-shots you on a fortified key. Be very careful with these packs, the charged people. If you get double charged, or even just charged once, and not healed, you will die. As you can see there, our Warlock, literally the tankiest ranged spec in the game, got double charged and just died. So if you get charged, make sure you're using defensives. I got double charged here. I didn't die, but I ice blocked. I ice blocked after I got the second charge because I know it's going to have the 2 dots, and ice block removes your dots. So I wanted to make sure I actually survived that. The Warlock literally said double charge is an automatic kill, and I said no with ice block. Okay, so I decided to focus the bird in this case. They do end up chasing me. Whenever they do this marked prey, that's when they chase somebody, and they literally just one-shot you. It's very scary. I do not like it one bit. I definitely don't have great rune uptime here. I'm literally holding on rune for this whole time. Make sure you get as many runes off as possible. I think I might have been saving rune for Ice Nova Cone of Cold, which I just did there. Obviously min-maxing, probably not needed. Just send your stuff on cooldown, because Mage doesn't really want to hold its CDs. I should have just been sending my Ice Nova and Rune of Power and stuff on CD. The only thing you do kind of want to hold would be your Cone of Cold, and you want to, because you want to shatter that. Obviously, if you can't shatter it, if it's a low target count, or like you're going to lose stacks, just send it without shattering it, but... I trolled and threw Rune of Power, and then I basically immediately popped a Icy Veins. I should not have done that, because now I have 2 runes down, and they're basically both going to a waste. Especially because I had to go clear in melee. But again, in here, just prioritizing Frozen Orb and Blizzard. It's a lot more. It's very important in this key too, because all of these keys are mass AoE. Other than that, just use your Fingers of Frost procs. If you're going to overcap on Flurry, you can send your Flurry procs, even without a Frostbolt. I'm not sure exactly on the priority, but I believe it's when it's
fuck these guys, bro.
Lower than 5 target,
Bolstering makes this area so bad because all these mobs.
A Flurry on its own is more priority than Ice Nova or something like that. But again, I'm not great with the prio stuff, so I kind of just really crafty, which isn't great to do. One thing that's not great in these is those big guys can't get frozen. So you can't really shatter on them. I know I'm saving my death snare here, I think for... I like saving it for the big packs, so I think I used it on the pack prior to this. And then I'm going to be using it on this next pack. I think I've used it 3. This would be the 3rd time I use it on this pack coming up. I like saving it for starts of pulls, especially because I know I'll have runes going into starts of pulls, which I actually don't think rune capitalizes on it, but oh well. I used Icy Veins here. Definitely worth using it here. I'm probably gonna not get it on the boss, but I know there's a lot of uptime still left on these mobs, so it's more important for me to get this damage done now than try and save it and do better boss damage. Not really gonna matter too much. Just basically send Icy Veins on cooldown as much as you can, unless it's like a really bad time and you know you're gonna lose a lot of uptime from it. Yep, and there's the double charge. I could have ice blocked. Probably should have ice blocked, but I kind of RNG hoped that I wouldn't get 2 charges in a row. I'm not sure why they made this dungeon. This dungeon is horrific on all affixes. On Tyrannical, on Fortified, there has not been a single week so far that Nokhud has not been just an absolute shit show of a dungeon to be in. Last week with Sanguine, with all the mobs that literally don't move, and Tyrannical. Spiteful makes it bad. One major thing with this is you can use your Ice Nova both to freeze, like to freeze the mob. Not really recommended because it's only 2 target. But if you need like an actual freeze on the mob, it works. Same thing with Frost Nova. I would also recommend having your Blizzard uptime, because the Blizzard actually does slow them still. I have a lot of rune overlap here. Isn't great. I prioritized getting Icy Veins on cooldown over best rune uptime. There's not a whole lot that we need to do on this boss. There's not a whole lot we can do. Just obviously damage. It's different for a lot of the other bosses. There's things we can do, except for the last boss. But you can focus his add down if you'd like instead of being on boss, because you obviously have good cleave anyways. The only thing you'll be losing out on will be your frostbolts and flurries. Obviously, reduce damage from your ice lances, but if those mobs are a target for your group to actually kill them, it's not bad that Frost may just single target them and just cleave.
I can't use another RC vein, so I won't have it for the next pack.
I've had a lot of issues with what I just talked about. There are a lot of times where like I could use an ice veins right now, but and you think it'd be okay, but the travel time is pretty quick to the next area. And I have had times where I think it honestly depends on what pack you guys are going to go to first. If you're going to go to the pack by the waterfall, I would say save it and don't worry about the boss damage here. If you're not going to waterfall and you're going to the other pack that's close, you can probably send it because it's not as important of a pack. But 100% if you're going to the waterfall pack after, save your icy veins. You need icy veins for that pack, because that pack hurts and is important to actually kill, especially on a fortified week. There are quite a bit of things that Frost Mage, well, Mage in general, can do in this next pack. This is one of the reasons why I didn't want to take Dragon's Breath is this next area, because along with the first area and the last area, the big mobs can't get BB'd or stunned at all. They can't get Blast Waved, they can't get Dragon Breath, so I wanted to focus on more AoE. I didn't know we were going to the waterfall here, so I kind of wasted a bunch of my dragon things, but whatever. You want to focus the people that do Storm Bolts in this pack. The Stormcaller, I don't remember the other ones that they're called, but the one major mob is the Stormcaller. As you can see, my Death Snare and actually having Icy Veins and Rune of Power up at the same time all actually do a lot of damage, as can be seen by the meters. So for the Storm Surge Totem, when they do the, I think it's Totemic Recall, I think is what it's called. The little orbs that it shoots out are the same orbs that spawn from the boss. The ones that give you both a damage and healing increase. Try and get those if you can. You saw me trying to go to them at the beginning, but the other people got them first. These mobs right here, the Primal Storm Shields, both on this guy and on the Pat that has the Kodo.
Why so early? And
the two of these, you can spell steal their Storm Shields. So you see me actually do it here. This whole shield right here is the Storm Shield. So I basically have 2 health bars, which granted you don't really take any damage from them. And this is also a really small shield. It's only like 10 seconds, but I would definitely recommend it. Especially because it makes it you don't actually have to do that damage to them. Obviously, there are other people in the group that can help spell steal, like Demon Hunter. I think I don't remember exactly what it's called, but Night Elf or Blood Elf, Night Elf. One of them has Arcane Torrents. So I also told this group at the beginning of the key to watch the Ellies, the 4 wind guys that path around, because I can spell steal them. Very much recommend spell steal the little elementals. Those little guys that are running in now. You can basically get like a 6 billion health shield, because their entire health pool is a shield, and you can spell steal each one of them, and they all stack. It basically makes it so your healer doesn't have to heal you at all through like the first intermission phase of the boss, as well as like half of the second portion, but not up until the intermission. I was definitely aggravated with that because I said at the beginning of the key and as we were flying down not to take that. It makes it both easy for me and easy for the healer. Because I actually don't have to worry about mechanics. And dying. I could have popped my Ice Blood Snare here. I probably should have. I forgot we had 2 packs left instead of just 1. Because I definitely just sit on this for a while. I only get, I think, 15 uses out of it in this key. Which, it's a 40-minute key and it's a 2-minute cooldown. So I lost 5 uses of it over the course of the key. So not great. Because obviously, should have more than that. Chain Lightning, get as far from your group as possible. As you can see, I think I had Barrier up at the same time. It still chunked me for 80% of my health. See, I did no damage in this pack because 1, I didn't pop Icy Veins. I didn't pop my Trinket. I popped like nothing for this. I was just bare going into this pack. I think I only sent a Rune of Power. Which, not recommended. There's nothing that these guys can really spell steal. I can Blast Wave the Storm Bolts. You can only Blast Wave the little guys. Again, like I said, you can't Blast Wave or Dragon's Breath the big guys, just the little ones. So the kicks on the big guy are the most important. Because you can stun the other guys. You can't stun the big guy. Now I'm hoping that we get into this next pack pretty quickly. I'm going to be running low on Icy Veins uptime. I have 10 seconds. Isn't great. I think I end up sending a Flurry. Without, yeah, I end up sending, I think, 2 Flurries, actually. Without a Frozen Orb. Or without a Frostbolt, just because I wanted to try and actually keep Icy Veins uptime. And then I think I actually decided here, too, that I'm just not going to cast another Icy Veins because I want it for boss. So I'm actually still losing uptime on both Rune and Icy Veins in this key. From saving. Which, somewhat of a personal thing. I could send it here. I could not. It's kind of just up to me. I definitely lose value from not doing it.
I don't want to pop Icy Veins here. Want it for boss. Oh.
I probably should just be sending it. I definitely could be doing more damage in this key because I'm holding CDs for a lot of things. Where I definitely probably get bigger value for when I do hold it. I get value on the next pack. I'm definitely losing a lot of value by holding it from the pack that we're currently fighting. Most important thing for this, we can spell steal the energy surges, which are massive tank busters. You need to do it on tyrannical keys, and you need to do it on most of these. But fortunately, we have multiple people that can purge them in our group, so I kind of just don't pay attention to it. You should have alter time for every single one of the electric storms. Oh, yeah, I just popped it there. Yeah. You want to make sure that you are prolonging your buffs basically as long as possible. I didn't do it well there. I could have prolonged a few seconds more. Because you can basically keep 100% uptime on all your buffs if your whole group is doing it properly. Which I think I get mad later on because we don't do it properly at all. People are just insta grabbing. It'll be important for uptime in higher keys. Not as important in this key, but I'm trying to leave the healer as many of the things as well, because the healer having 10 stacks is more important than anything else. Doesn't matter how fast you kill this. I mean, it obviously does matter how fast you kill it, but what matters the most is that the healer has 10 stacks going into intermission. See, I'm not even making sure I keep my uptime on my buffs either. And I'm at 10 buffs currently. 10 stacks. The healer took that one from me, even though I was going to lose my my buff. So I had to blink to the other one. It's a good idea to pay attention to where the things are going to be, so that you know where you need to go if you need one. But like here, I lost it because no one else was really like belonging in the stacks. They're like getting it instantly. So I'm pretty sure all of us lost all of our stacks there, or at least I did. I'm not sure about everybody else, but. I'd also, if you're not going to get all of the orbs, I would try and recommend not putting your lightning strike through them, because the lightning strike, as you know in this boss, it makes those orbs disappear, and does like the AoE ability, AoE damage. This next area is basically where Frost Mages shine, both this area and the first area. But this definitely is a dungeon for Snowstorm with mass AoE. Because every single pull is big.
And these guys give no percent.
Like I said there, I would not recommend doing these beast collars. The small little ads they spawn, the little like wolf people, they do not give percent whatsoever. I can post them after this, Brez. I'll just link them in chat. So there, obviously the Snowstorm stacks. Ice Nova into your Cone of Cold. I think later on I don't end up having Ice Nova for a lot of them. And I end up doing Frozen Nova into them. It's better than not trying to shatter it. But Frozen Nova should be or Frost Nova should be your last resort. I'm freezing these little guys because our tank doesn't have aggro on them. So just using Frost Nova to freeze them. I'm typing here and I think I ended up losing my Snowstorm stacks. I should be sending a Blizzard here. Yeah, I lost my Snowstorm. I had 25 stacks of Snowstorm and I just lost it. I should be always sending a Blizzard on anything more than 2 targets. So, and I know I don't do that in multiple cases here. So there's a lot of damage that I could be improving upon. Obviously, this is a Death Snare Death's Ice Blood pull. I'm doing 200k. Like here, I didn't have Ice Nova up yet, and I had my Snowstorm stacks, and I wanted to immediately start building them again. So I just Frost Nova'd into a Cone of Cold. Doing that is better than trying to not use a non-shattered Cone of Cold.
This is not timed.
I also didn't think it was going to be timed at this point, because I just didn't think we were doing enough damage. Like, we're at 60% right now. And we only have 18 minutes, and we have 2 bosses left. I wonder if there's a way on Wowhead to save talent builds. Also, I accidentally double flurried there. I did not mean to do that. I definitely have a lot of I definitely have a lot of flurries that I don't cast Frostbolt in, and a lot of unempowered Ice Lances that I cast. So there's a lot of room for me to actually still do more damage. It's not terrible to do flurries without Frostbolt, especially in AoE pulls, but it is not recommended still. I'm saving Destinary here again, because I know it's going to be another big pack fixed. Or I'm hoping it'll be. I'm pretty sure this is a spot where I lose out on a lot of Destinary uptime. Because I save for the totems, the totem packs, instead of just sending them.
Yeah. Well, I guess we only have 2 more. Then we have 2 bosses.
Which I think I end up losing Snowstorm stacks here. I have 28 stacks. So I lose out on a lot of damage here because I'm obviously not blizzarding in single target.
That'll be tight.
And I have nothing to track it other than my buff in the top right. Yep, I lost it again. That's twice now in this area where I lose my Snowstorm stacks at 25 or more. Which is really bad if you're taking that talent. Like there, I actually got full value out of my rune and my frozen orb. My runes basically got me full value in that pull, and I was doing 200k on pull. In these packs, I would recommend, well, not recommend, if you can, if the Mystics end up getting a Swift Wind cast off, it's something that you can spell steal, and it's basically a mini lust. It gives you, I want to say it's 20% haste for 15 seconds. It's these little Mystic guys right here. They cast Swift Wind. They're almost in every single one of the totem packs. They're not in all of them. I don't think they're in the first 2, but they're in all these last ones. Like you saw Swift Wind right there from this guy. Basically still here, just prioritizing Blizzard and Frozen Orb, as well as your Ice Nova if you can here, because this is like 5 targets. But you obviously don't want to be overcapped on Fingers of Frost. Once it gets to a certain target count, I'm pretty sure Ice Nova will be better than your Ice Lances, but... Like here, I didn't shatter that Cone of Cold. I Cone of Colded it into Ice Nova. I should have Ice Nova into Cone of Cold. There's still a lot of damage for me to be making up in this key. Either 1, holding Death Snare, 2, holding Icy Veins, not being in my Rune of Power as much as possible. I'm not casting Blizzard as much as possible on 2 targets. There's a lot of mistakes here that I'm still making. I started the RP here because I thought we were going to go to Lust, or go to Boss, because I wanted Lust on CD. I just lost it here because we only had 12 minutes left in this key, and we still had 2 bosses left. So I basically just sent Lust, just hoping that we would need it. I also should pop my Trinket here, like immediately. Yeah. Like I'm holding on to it too long there, I should just pop it as soon as I land. But again, here, these mass AoE packs, I think this is like 6 targets, 5 targets maybe. Make sure you have as much uptime as possible on Frozen Orb and Blizzard. Again, didn't shatter my Cone of Cold there. If you're running the Cone of Cold talent, you really need to make sure you're maximizing Cone of Cold. In this dungeon, in this area alone, I've lost on Snowstorm stacks at least twice and not shattered my Snowstorm in the last 2 packs. Again, prioritizing Blizzard and Frozen Orb over anything else. Most important in AoE packs. I decided to save Icy Veins here as well. I wanted to save Icy Veins because I knew we were going to be going to boss next. Again, probably shouldn't have done it. I'm losing uptime on both Rune and Icy Veins in this. I did end up just sending my Cone of Cold here, I think. Because I know we're going to go to boss next. I didn't. Okay. Bad thing there. I should have just sent Cone of Cold on that mob because I knew we were going to boss.
Fuck, stop fucking running away, bro.
Okay. I was getting mad in this. You stack for the, you want to stack for the Gale Arrows. If you're actually, like, pixel stacked or very close to being, like, perfectly stacked together, the Gale Arrows, you just get hit by the initial damage and all of them go to the same spot. So we're all stacked here. We only got hit by the initial one. A very important thing here for mages, you can alter time every single Gale Arrow. So as soon as the Gale Arrow goes off and hits you, you can alter time, you'll immediately be back to full health. It makes it a lot easier for your healer. I could be blizzarding on these 2 targets all the time. I probably should be, since I am running. I do blizzard here. You should almost always try and have blizzard down on these 2 mobs if you can. I end up not stacking Endo for this next one, I think. I ran out on that one because I saw there was a Storming that was spawning right there, and I didn't want us to get fucked by the Gale Arrows. I also held Icy Veins for way too long there. I literally held on to it for probably like 20-30 seconds. As a range, you can instant interrupt the repel. Make sure you try and do that if you can. It's not a mandatory thing, but definitely good for your melee. It maximizes their uptime as much as possible. What up, Hanzo? Thanks for stopping in. Again, use the alter time for every single one. You saw all of us drop down to basically 20% health from that Gale Arrow on a non-Tyrannical week. It's really huge for us to actually drop or actually use alter time for every single one. It helps your healer a lot. On higher keys, you need basically barrier and some. You need at least barrier for every single Gale Arrow. Gale Arrow. It used to be worse, but. Because there used to be a point, I think it was a point like 6 window, 0.6 second window, where the Gale Arrow would hit and you'd immediately get hit by a quick shot. You can get 100% before doing this. There's a tech that you can do to not spawn these mobs. Personally, I like doing the tech just because these guys have a lot of health, especially on fortified weeks. Like right now, both of these mobs have 13 million, 12.5 million health each. So we're basically
they have 13 million health.
Yeah. We're basically doing 26 million damage to 2 mobs for 6% count. Where we could easily just pull another pack in that third area and do less than that. I still have a lot of things that I need to fix in the last boss. I ran out of ice flows charges a lot. I still need to figure out why my flurry thing double casts. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not sure why. Why? Well, at least why double cast in my add-on that I have. But this honestly isn't a bad pull for Frost Mages just because it is 2-target cleave, but I'd much rather not do this pack. For this, especially on higher keys, I would highly suggest if you don't have like a paladin or like someone fully dedicated to like CCing one mob fully, I would look to CC 2 of the mobs or at least one of the mobs and just worry about kicking anywhere from 2 to 3 of them. It makes it a lot easier to get through. You still take a lot of damage in the intermission, but it's a lot better than having to interrupt 4 of them. There's a strat here going behind this rock. I alter time because I know that the damage hurts. I almost still got one shot. It did 92% of my health. 92% of my health, I should say. I had 8% after that hit. Again, here it's just full single target on the boss. There's nothing really special with this that Frost Mages need to do. Or anyone in general. I shouldn't be using ice flows in at this phase 1. They're a lot harder to get in the intermission. I'm not sure why the Warlock seemed to incinerate or put something on that right ad that I was polying. It made it this much more difficult and the damage that we're taking a lot more. I would just recommend doing 2 at a time if you can. So again, like I said, if you have any form of CC, Poly, Imprison, Blind, Ice Trap, it makes it much more bearable. I had very bad Icy Veins uptime on this last boss because of my ice flows usage. Again, I alter timed that. You can also ice block that and also invis it. I'm pretty sure the invis thing works. You have to invis during his Shatter Spear cast and not just after the target. Because I know rogues can do it as well.
This is so troll, bro.
Yeah, I ice blocked the damage You still get pulled there. I think if you ice block while you're mid-air, you would stop. Haven't really tested that out yet, but you can ice block the damage from it anyways, which I would definitely recommend. Because it, as you can see, the druid literally got one shot again from it. The druid got one shot earlier from it. Or they got one shot earlier from like the cleave. But I alter timed. Very good use of alter time as well. And that's the key.
Oh.
11 IO for me. Unfortunately, we tried doing the 23 afterwards, I think, and didn't time it.
Bumping.
Oh, let's see. Let's go look at the overall again. I moused over it. Let's see if I can pause it on it. So Frozen Orb, Blizzard, and Ice. It's basically massive AoE. My Ice Lance did a lot more than I think it should. Which means I have a lot of underpowered Ice Lances. Because a lot of the time, at least when I'm in single target, it seems Icicles and Ice Lances are about the same. But granted, Ice Lance will probably do more with splitting ice, just because of when that happens. But my Cone of Cold should definitely be higher than my Flurry. I lost both stacks of Snowstorm, and I didn't shatter it too many times in this dungeon, which I definitely lost a lot of value from that. So there's a lot of things that I need to at least improve on in that sense. I could definitely be increasing my DPS, probably do at least like 110k, probably more. I save my cooldowns a lot. I save my Icy Veins, I save my Rune, I save Frozen Orb. Sometimes it's good to save them. Maybe I don't sound like 1 or 2 mobs. It's fine to save them and use them for the next pack, but there were times where I was saving it on like 3 or 4 mobs. Not really worth doing in some cases, but obviously heat of the moment thing, you're going to make those decisions. But yeah, that's somewhat of the commentary for this Nokhud. Again, I really recommend running, at least on Fortified weeks, running the Frostbite, Sub-Zero, and Snowstorm build, because it is basically AoE pull after AoE pull after AoE pull. There's nothing that's really single target in this dungeon, other than 1, the bosses, or 2, like this last 2 mobs. But yeah, I would definitely recommend running the AoE-centric build for Nokhud, and then the instead of the splitting cold and stuff like that. Especially Fortified weeks. Tyrannical weeks, you can make an argument for running other ones, but there's so much AoE. All the pulls in this dungeon are at least 5 mobs. The pulls at the beginning are set anywhere between 5 and 7 in the entire first area. In the second area, they're anywhere between... The 3 is the lowest one you would do, and that's the Pat. All the other packs are either 5 or 6. Every single one of the totems. And the totems in the last pack, in the last area, are typically like 6 or 7 mobs, so very useful to do Snowstorm as well on those. Or at least just AoE in general. But yeah, that was my commentary for this 22 Nokhud. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anything. I'm not really too familiar with this whole commentary thing on these Nokhuds, so I'm definitely going to try and get better for it, because I know it's useful for you guys to see someone that is doing higher keys, kind of like our thought process and when we're using things where and why we're doing it. It's probably also helpful that I'm doing them in full pug situations. Like, I don't know any of the people that I really do keys with. I don't really have a push group. I like full pug, which obviously most of people playing the game are kind of doing that. They're kind of just pugging groups. So yeah, that's it for this Nokhud commentary.